Welcome all of you to this another episode of Fond Memories of Srila Gurudev. We're going to start this program with Jai Dhwani. Jai Shri Guru Gaurang Gandharva Kavyadhari Shri Radha Vinod Bihari Ji ki Jai. Shri Radha Raman Ji ki Jai. Nitya Leela Pravishtom Vishnu Pad Ashtotar Sashrimad Bhakti Vedant Shri Narayana Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. रूपानु गुरुवर की जय, वृंदावन नवदीप धाम की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय, गौर भक्त वृंद की जय, श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय, गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल. So today we are going to have Srimati Anita Didi with us, and today Haritpriya Didi will be hosting this program for all of you, and also she's going to sing something for us in the beginning. So after she finishes the kirtan, she will give the introduction for Anita Didi, and then Anita Didi is going to speak. So let's start with the kirtan now, and then Didi, you take over from here on. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam to all the viewers and future viewers. So I think I'll sing Ashraya Korea Vando. Prabhuji, do you want to share the...
Ashray Kariya, I don't think it is in the Hindi Gaudi, which I'm not sure. Let me check.
Yeah, just check Ashraya Korea. Nahin to I can change it. Anita Didi,
or you can WhatsApp me if you want.
You're tilted. Okay, that's fine. I think you have to, your setting, you have to like allow for auto rotate, then. Okay.
So it's not, I don't have the.
Yeah, let me WhatsApp it to you 1 second.
Fine.
Okay.
Okay, you can start.
Yeah.
I will share it. Yeah.
Ashraya Kariya Vando Shri Guru Charan Jaha hoite mile bhai Krishna Premadhan Jivera nishtara lagi Nanda Sutahari Bhuvane Prakasha ऊपर sorry Prabhuji मैं भी वही देख रही हूँ.
Okay. This is the one, right?
Yeah, I don't
Sorry.
yeah, it's like a really, and I'll just sing it through once because it's a little long one.
Yeah, it's a long one.
Jivera nishtara lagi Nanda Sutahari Bhuvane prakasha pan Guru Rupadhari Mahimaya Guru Krishna Eka kari jano Guru agya hriday sava satya kari mano Satya Jnane Guru Vakya Jahara Vishwas Avasyatahara Haya Braja Bhumivas Jara Prati Guru Deva Hana Parasana Kono bighne se nahi haya basana Krishna rusta haila Guru Rakhi bare pare गुरुरुस्तहले कृष्णा रखी बारे नारे गुरु माता गुरु पिता गुरु हनापति गुरु बिना ये संसारे नहीं अरगति गुरु मनुष्य जाना न कर कान गुरु निंदा काबू करने न करो श्रवण गुरु निंदु करे मुखा काबू ना हेरिबे जत हाय गुरु निंदा तत ना जाइबे गुरुरा विक्रिया जदि देखा हो कान तथापि अवज्ञा नहीं करो कदाचान गुरुपाद पद में रहा चरणनिष्ठ भक्ति जगत तरिते से धरे महाशक्ति हेन गुरुपाद पद्मा करहो बंदन जहाँ हईते गुच्छे भाई सकल जंत्रान गुरुपाद पद्मा नित्या जे करे बंदन सिरे धरी बंदी अमी ताहार चरण श्री गुरु चरण पद्मा हृदय करियास श्री गुरु वंदना करे सनातन दास आशया करिया वंदो श्री गुरु चरण जहाँ होते मिले भाई कृष्ण प्रेम धार जय गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा श्रील गुरुदेव की जय श्रील सनातन गोस्वामी महाराज की जय
This is
So
such a beautiful
welcome.
kirtan. Thank you, Didi. Very nice.
It is a
kirtan.
beautiful kirtan by
Yeah.
Sanatan Goswami. It's full of so many instructions and it's really nice.
Guru Tattva, yeah.
Yeah, full of Guru Tattva and how the behavior of a disciple should be, how we should see our Guru. It's so beautiful. So again, welcome to all our viewers today. Today, I'm so honored to introduce our guest speaker, my dear friend, Anita Didi. So I was so excited about today because Anita Didi is always hiding. She's always hiding and she's always in the background. She's been around for so many years, but she's always behind the book table, actually. And her services are so significant and so tangible to all of us, but we don't know. So today we're gonna, I won't make her too uncomfortable by singing her praises, but just it's so nice because today we get to highlight her GVP service and how significant that is and how Gurudev has inspired her so much in that way. So Anita Didi has I met the devotees when she was living in Australia in the early 2000s. One of her friends actually introduced her to Gurudev, where in that, I think 2000 or 2001, she received Harinam from Gurudev. Then the following year, she took diksha. And then I guess a year later, in 2002, she went and lived in India for 6 months. And also, I found out that she was traveling. She did like a 6 month Sankirtan tour with Shyamala Didi uh, in her early days in the U.S., doing Sankirtan and book distribution and pamphlets and all those wonderful things. Very much like on the ground, hands-on seva. And then one fine year in 2000, when she was in her and Vasanti were, I guess, in Vrindaban. She was one day she was doing her anik, and as soon as she finished, she told Vasanti, Syamarani Didi needs someone to travel with her. Why don't we go? And Vasanti said, are you crazy? But somehow this was Gurudev's desire and arrangement, and everything, all the pieces fell together. I think Gurudev was sponsoring paying for one Sevak's ticket, and then they pulled together and bought one more ticket, and then it was, I guess, 6 years for Anita Didi, just a non-stop whirlwind, traveling around the world with Syamarani Didi and Gurudev, and all the while doing so much editing seva and typing out. So much work goes into the books, and I know both these girls, Didis, were so much involved in that seva and with so much responsibility. Actually, I've known Anita Didi for many, many years, but I was so fortunate to have her in my home last week, week before last week, and spend so much time with her, and just to get to know her background, where she comes from. Just like Vasanti, she comes from a very affluent family from Colorado, but then to give up everything and go against her family and parents, it's so funny to hear all those stories, and then just follow Gurudev just full time. And in 2008, she started living in Vrindaban full time, and because of her dedicated service in GVP, and we can go into this more later, but just simple things like keeping every single one of Gurudev's books in print and making sure that everything is available and taking care of logistics. The Anita is so humble. She kind of says, oh, it's like, kind of mundane, just, pushing like books around the world, but it's so significant, and it's such an important service. So she was promoted to becoming the vice president of GVP, and she really takes care of everything. And I know this, even Sachin, my husband, he takes care of the warehouse in the US, and everything and anything, it's like Anita Didi. And even I personally do the some audiobooks, and she's the biggest supporter in everyone's service. She's serving and encouraging everyone to serve. So I have so much respect and so much just appreciation that she's here and she's talking today. And I know, traveling with Gurudev for so many years and on all his tours, she probably has endless stories and memories. So we're all fortunate today to be able to hear that. And one small thing, Vasanti is actually going to join us a little later so she can, because their stories are so like, intertwined. So she will add some things as well, but she's watching live right now. So without further ado, welcome Anita Didi. Please take the stage.
Thank you, Hari Priya, for that overinflated introduction. But anyhow, Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnanjana Salakaya Chakshurunmilitanyena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Vanchakalpa Turbhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyeva Cha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So, Yes, Hari Priya, I think partly by her excellent cooking charmed me into doing this. I told her I have Zoom phobia. You can hear me okay? Volume and everything's okay?
Yes, perfectly.
Okay. Um, and how do you glorify Gurudev? How do you talk about Gurudev? We have our experiences, but it's so mixed with our we're so immersed in the material world, and and how do you talk about that? How do you share it? How do you reflect anything of Gurudev's ginormous magnanimity to the world? Like it feels overwhelming, but she kind of helped me. We said, okay, let's give it a focus of the books. I'll go here and there too, just because it's all intertangled, but the books, it gives me a focus in my life. I feel like Sulata, who works, dear friend of mine who works on the books, and we've been doing things for so many years, she always talks about it like if Gurudev's the anchor, like the books are like the chain that hold us to him, so we can like swing here and there, but we can't, it keeps us anchored to Gurudev. And even after his unmanifest pastimes, the books, I feel like, I remember after he left, everyone's spinning and bewildered and stuff, and we went to we were in Navadvip for Gorpranim, and we did the book table and stuff. And I was thinking, how's Navadvip going to be without him, and this and that. And as soon as I stood behind the book table, I was like, Gurudev's here. He's fully here. Like I feel like I'm associating with Gurudev and his devotees by just standing here and being with the books. And it was so nice at the end of the festival, because we used to always go and give the money to Gurudev, and we'd make a little report. These were the books that were sold and this and that. And we did the same thing and went to his samadhi. And it's like that day, it just became so clear to me how much, Gurudev's in his books. So, I'll just kind of, the books have always been there for me. I was telling Hari Priya when I was there that it was, I was in college actually, and I was my senior year, and I just wanted to have a relaxed, semester. I only needed 3 classes to graduate. And then my mom phoned me up and she's like, you have to take another class. You're not a full-time student. You can't be on our health insurance, etc. And so I had to sign up last minute for a class. I was really upset. I never took an 8 o'clock class all of university. And I signed up for a philosophy and religion class because I thought that'll be easy. And so part of the philosophy and religion class, we were asked to read Bhagavad Gita, and they didn't assign any specific edition. I think I had the Penguin one. And I was at the student rec center on the stair stepping machine, like, doing my exercise, doing my homework while I do my exercise. And I'm reading Bhagavad Gita, and my mind's just like exploding. I'm just like, what? Like, this just makes so much sense. It connects so much dots. Like, I can't believe it. And I literally, my like half an hour on the machine was finished. And I just sat on the ground in the rec center and read the whole Bhagavad Gita on the spot. Of course, this was without purports or anything like that, but it just, I loved it, but I didn't know what to do with it. And then I went to law school for 1 year, and then I took a break, and I was living in Australia. And there I like met Gurudev's devotees and this and that, and started chanting, started getting into this, but just in like a very baby way. But I remember how potent the books were. For me, I was reading mostly Srila Prabhupada's books at that time, and I felt like that Srila Prabhupada was like my best friend. Like I just felt like my dear friend who I couldn't see was somehow like writing me letters and like giving me the like complete truth to everything. And I was just like addicted to Srila Prabhupada's books. And I remember one day I'd run out. I'd finished all the little booklets I had. And I was like, oh, where am I getting more? I used to just, whenever I'd go to like secondhand shops, if I'd see Srila Prabhupada's books, I'd buy them. And I was in town in Byron Bay, and sitting on a rock, like, you know, they use them to like stop people from driving where they onto the beach or something. I don't know. But sitting on this big rock was a stack of maybe like 7 of Srila Prabhupada's books. And I just kind of like looked left, looked right, and I was like, do these belong to somebody? And it was just like, I felt like the books had just been left there for me. So I took them home and greedily read them all. So fast forward a little bit, I met Srila Gurudev in January of 2001 in Murwillumbah at the festival there, and I took Harinam. And he stole my heart immediately. I couldn't really, because of his accent, I couldn't understand even so much what he was saying, but just his energy, his potency just made it like, I don't know. I didn't even know it was happening, actually, to be honest. I know the very first class he went to, I know he was speaking about Venu Geet, because I remember him making the sound, you know, the calves drinking Krishna's flute song with their ears. But there wasn't many details, but I was just sitting there like kind of stunned, kind of in awe, like feeling a lot of internal, like, I don't know what's going on, like a little bewildered, but like definitely blissful, and just like completely, yeah, he stole my heart. And actually, I used to love to dance in the, well, I still do like to dance in kirtan, but that's the part of the program I used to always look forward to when I would go to just the local programs. I was like, oh yeah, and then we can dance, you know. But that night I didn't dance in the kirtan. I was so overwhelmed with emotion, and I just went and sat under the eaves of any random house because it was pouring rain, and I just cried for hours. And I just knew somehow in my heart that my whole life was going to change. And it was a mix of like kind of feeling like I had to let go and say goodbye to a lot of things in my life, and then also like excitement, like what's happening, this is so exciting, this is, you know, like I've truly entered into like a spiritual path. I'm truly, this is like such a higher level thing that it's like able to have this effect on me. Probably just some bewilderment, I don't know what it was, just general overwhelm. And that festival was magic. Gurudev, you know, was able to, it just always blows my mind how even at a festival, even when even Kartik, 1,000 people plus, Navadweep, 30,000 people, he's always able to like, everybody I think had that that like personal touch, that interaction, that like heart-wrenching thing. Actually, a lot of times I feel like the festivals were almost like surgeries. Like you turn up and Gurudev like kind of rips your guts out, makes you see or experience, or like really takes you to another level. You know, you're kind of like stunned and bewildered. And then somehow by the festival, he's got you all sewn back up and like on cloud 9, like sailing on until the next time that you get to see him. So yeah, at that Murwillumbah festival, he just here and there, a few times he spoke to me this, and it really like captured me. And then I think it was the last day I took initiation Harinam, maybe the like 4th day or something. I think it was like a week-long festival. It was his Vyasa Puja, which was really special too. I always remember that, actually, how he's just so the complete opposite of the material world. In the material world, what do people do on their birthday? Everyone bring me gifts, give me things, everyone celebrate me, this and that. What does Gurudev do? He gives. He honors his Guru Parampara. He like showers mercy on everybody else. And it was just like such a contrast for me that it really like, yeah, it made a very strong impression that in the very beginning, how everyone in the world is so selfish and he is so selfless. And yeah, it's just amazing. So I took Harinam there, and the last morning I was you know, didn't really know, I'm just kind of floating through my life, hanging out in Australia. And he says in the class the last morning, I'm sure you've all had this experience where you're in class, you're listening, and all of a sudden one sentence or one story or one something just hits you like an arrow in the heart, and you're like, oh, that one was for me. And so he said, don't think you can go on living your life as you had. And so it just like hit me, and I was like, well, what am I supposed to do? You know, so I was kind of talking to the devotees that day. I think I was helping in the kitchen, and the devotees are like, oh, you're from America, you should, you should go check out Badger. He always goes there. There's a community there, this and that. So kind of Badger got like planted in my mind. And then in the evening after class, there was a drama play. So we all had to like turn to the other side of the room or whatever. And one of the devotees from Badger who was at the festival like happened to be sitting next to me. And, we turned and kind of said hello to each other. And we're just talking for a few minutes while they were getting the drama play ready. And she mentioned she was from Badger, and I was like, oh, I'd really like to go. And we just kind of made a connection. And then I got some contacts. And when I went back to America in the spring, I called the devotees in Badger and was like, I'd like to come there. And one devotee opened up her home to me and allowed me to stay there for about a month. And I loved it. Gurudev had his school there. So I used to get up really early every morning. It was about half an hour walk from where I stayed to the school, and I'd do my japa and walk to the school. It was a temple room also. So I'd walk there in the dark and go to Mangalarti and then sit and chant. And then I would join the school program up until they started their like kind of, just academic studies, but they would like sing bhajans and do, I don't know, slow. They had a little like morning program in the school. And so I learned so much. I was fortunate to be a student in Gurudev's school for a little while. And then I traveled up to Canada, to Salt Spring Island, where Gurudev was coming to start his summer tour in North America. And then if you guys don't mind, this is something I wrote on for Guru Purnim. I was just thinking about when I first took diksha and was in Salt Spring Island. And so I'll just read it because I feel like I was more in the mood that day about it. I was in Salt Spring Island. I took Harinam in Murwillumbah and got the name Anita Dasi. But in Salt Spring, most people thought I was just Anita. So after days of doing seva to prepare for the festival, everyone was encouraging me to take initiation. But they thought I needed Harinam. But I thought they meant to take diksha. I felt in a dilemma. While I was so happy and Srila Gurudev was incredible to be in the presence of, I knew diksha was a lifelong, serious commitment. So I went for a long walk in the gentle rain of that lush Canadian island. It was at this gorgeous retreat center just outside the town Ganges. A devotee then I was kind of remembering at the very end of the festival. So this devotee stayed back. All the devotees went on a ferry at the end of the festival. They all took a ferry to go back to Vancouver, I think, to be with Srila Gurudev. And a couple of devotees, we stayed back to like clean up and like do this stuff. And so this devotee told me this story afterwards. She stayed till the very end. I even left before she did. So she stayed back from riding the ferry with Srila Gurudev and the devotees to clean up after the festival. When all the seva was done, she went to the town of Ganges to wait for the next ferry. She wandered into a used bookshop, and on the shelf, she saw a super original Gita on the shelf. I can't be totally sure what book it was. I know it was a Gita, but I don't remember exactly. But she was like, this is so rare. This is so amazing. I even had the impression at the time that maybe it was even like a Gita that Srila Prabhupada would have like physically touched, I can't say, but as a new devotee, that was like the magnanimity that I had around this whole thing. She bought it for a few dollars and boarded the ferry. I learned how Srila Gurudev can reciprocate with seva. I also learned that there's also book Bhagavat. That book journeyed so long to be in that place that moment. Think of all that it touched on the way. What a mercy. So I went for a long walk and thought hard about how my head can catch up to my heart. And this is what I concluded. Either God exists or God does not exist. If she exists, then better to seek her. If she does not exist, then life ends and we die and nothing matters. So might as well seek God. So I decided to ask for diksha. On the way home, I collected every beautiful flower I saw and made a bouquet. And when I got back, I wrote Srila Gurudev a letter expressing a few things and asking for diksha. I went to the house he was staying in. I knew it well. We had cleaned it before he came, even planted flowers outside the house. But then the locals said the deer would eat them overnight. So I slept with my sleeping bag next to the flowers to protect those the night before Srila Gurudev arrived. I went to the door and expected someone in the party to be there, but I could only see Srila Gurudev behind the giant windows. I was able to deliver my bouquet and my note directly to him. It seemed such a simple act, but we both felt the intensity of the delivery. So I got diksha, I think, the next morning. And it was just like, it's just amazing how, I mean, it's very rare that you go to Srila Gurudev's room and he himself like answers the door. It wasn't even his room, it was a whole like building, that him and his sevaks were staying in, and no one was around, and he just opened the door and received my flowers and my note asking for diksha. And it's so incredible how personal he is, how
That was so beautiful. I hate to interrupt you, but that was like mind-blowingly beautiful. And I was just trying to make notes and I couldn't make all the notes, but that was really beautiful. The flowers and then also, does God exist? Might as well seek God. That was like so profound. Anyway, continue.
Yeah. So so he was very kind and gave me diksha at that festival. And then it just kind of became a whirlwind after that. That was the last year, I think, when he did these really like whistle stop tours with just like next city, next city, and next city for like months. I don't know how he did that, to be honest. But anyway, I was able to, I don't know, I had like, because I'd been living in Australia, I had hardly any money. I came back to America, like I hadn't worked for like, I don't know, like 5 or 6 months, I like had my like very minimal, like last maybe $500 or something in my bank account. And I was able to go on the whole tour that summer in America and North America. So we were in Salt Spring and then he was in Vancouver. I was just able to get rides with devotees, stay here and there. It was just like incredible. And it was like, I felt like he just, because so many devotees around me had like come from ISKCON or been around for years. Like I felt like everybody knew so much and I knew like nothing. And it was like, I just got this amazing, like super intensive course because, so we were in Salt Spring, Vancouver, Eugene, there was a festival, there was a few-day program in the Bay Area, then there was a program in Badger, then a few days in LA. And then I thought I was going to end there, but like a little before that, my parents, my great aunt was having her 80th birthday in New York. And they're like, oh, because I'd been living in Australia, they're like, we want to fly you out. We miss you. Like, what's going on? You're like stuck with the Hare Krishnas now. Like, so I was like, okay. So I flew to New York and spent a week with my parents at the birthday party and, touring gardens and seeing family and stuff. And that was while Srila Gurudev was in Houston, which was the Hindi speaking program that, they were like, if you don't speak Hindi, don't go. So it was okay. And then,
how did your family take all this in general?
Well, at first they were relieved because they thought I was going to like live in Australia forever. So they're like, oh, good. She came back to America. But then no, they didn't take it very well. They were just like, what are you doing? You're like wasting your life. What about your career? Don't you want to get married? Like all these kinds of things, which are normal parent worries, but I was like, I found the absolute truth. Don't you guys understand? So you know what to do. You have to just go with it. But so we flew to New York, and then I disturbed them deeply when I told them that I wasn't going to get back on the plane to them, go back to Denver, that I was going to delay my flight. And I was going to take the Greyhound to Alachua, Florida to go to another festival. And then I was going to go to another. Then Gurudev also went to outside Washington, D.C. I can't remember. We were at some like state park or something. So I was able to go to 2 more festivals, and it was just incredible because Srila Gurudev was giving class morning and evening those days. And And then I just didn't know that you shouldn't go to each and every class. So I was going to like 5 or 6 classes a day. My knees were like cracking open from like sitting so long. I was like, when do people do laundry around here? I was like, it was like, I just heard so much Harikatha. And in fact, this morning I was remembering my first, I didn't really know about darshans or anything like it for a little bit. So I was in Eugene when people first kind of told me about darshans and that you could like go and ask Gurudev a question or whatever. So I went and I asked him, with a very innocent mood that I wish I could recapture of wanting to surrender. I was just like, where should I go? What should I do? And so I thought I was going to get a very specific instruction, go here, live, and he said, I'm giving everything in my classes. He said, you should hear Harikatha. I'm giving everything in my classes. And with all of his instructions, I always feel like there's like layers to that. You know what I mean? So I think at the time he was like, you just really need to hear Harikatha. You don't know anything about the philosophy. Like you need to just hear Harikatha. But then also, it had like such deeper implications, because then when I finally did get like kind of a fixed service, it was helping Syamarani Didi with the Harikatha emails, so it was like, I did a little transcribing. I was not very good at transcribing. My main thing I would do was, so Vasanti or some other transcriber would transcribe it, then Syamarani Didi would make corrections. And it's quite a thing to take Srila Gurudev's, to take anybody's spoken language and turn it into written language. There's just, written language is so much more formal than spoken language. And then the thing is the nature of Hindi is the sentence structure is kind of backwards to English. So when you write Srila Gurudev's spoken English, everything feels a little backwards when you're reading it. When you're speaking it and he's there in his mood, it's in the flow, you're just like going with it. But to actually make it to kind of a proper like written literary standard, it takes quite a bit of like editing. So I used to enter those corrections and then Syamarani Didi would go over afterwards. But it was just like, for years, that's what we did. We went to the classes, we transcribed, and then we would race, because all the devotees around the world are like on the edge of their seat. What's Gurudev talking about? We want to hear it,
Yes.
So we're trying every 3 days to put out a Harikatha, which doesn't sound as hard as it is when I'm just saying it, but it's like, it takes some hours to transcribe it, and then Syamarani Didi would listen to it. Then I would enter the corrections. It would take me about an hour a page to enter the corrections. Then she'd go over it again. There'd be light corrections after that, which I would enter. Then it would get sent to, we'd email them to Brajanath Prabhu, and then he would go over it, and then she would put questions in there, like either for Madhav Maharaj or for Gurudev, for things that she wasn't clear about. And then Brajanath Prabhu would get back to us with the corrections, then a last proofread, and then we would post it. So there was quite a lot of steps in the whole thing. And so it was like, that was our whole fixation. And if it got to be 3 days and we didn't have anything to post, we all just felt this terrible anxiety for, okay, we're not doing what we kind of committed to Gurudev, and knowing all the devotees are just waiting to open their email and do all that, to hear what Gurudev's speaking about. And then of course, in later years, as technology kind of evolved, we would do the
Videoing?
it started first with phone. Isha Prabhu would do, during Kartik anyway, we would do, Gurudev live on the phone. But the problem is it's so loud there. And anyway, if anyone so we literally had this system. So to get away from all the people in the speaking, there were some speakers that were high up. And so if we were put the phone right next to the speaker, so we had this pulley system. We'd hook the phone to a string and pulley it up on the, how the windows in India all have the metal grates. So we had a loop, and we'd thing up, but then we had to have another phone because sometimes the network would drop us or the battery would die. And then Isha Prabhu would be like, hey, it's down, and we go over and we had, oh man, I feel like years my main meditation was our batteries charged? Do we have then we started doing videoing, And that sometimes we would do live. That was a little tricky to do live because then, you know, you're in a new country, you have to get an internet connection. It was like a lot of, yeah, we had a lot of like sort of technical anxiety over all the years to all these things.
So with
But
the phones, was it like broadcasting live or was he
yeah,
recording?
he had some way. No, we would, well, both. He would record. So we by phone would send it to Isha Prabhu in America. And then he was recording it, but he was also simultaneously live transmitting it over the internet because he had, I don't know, first of all, the technological wherewithal, and then
Yeah.
he and the better internet, which, you know, in India, it was special then. Oh my gosh. I remember, sorry, these are like side stories a little bit, but when we used to be in Govardhan before, when we first moved into the Mott there was the Mott didn't even have a phone. We used to have to go to Manasi Ganga was the nearest like STD shop or whatever. And so we'd go down there with like so to send out the Hari Katha, and it was like dial up. It was like a whole thing. And Vasanti would have to do it all live. And we'd be like sitting in these little like phone shops in Govardhan with like 20 villagers standing behind us being like, laptop, hey. And we're like, go faster, Vasanti, let's get out of here. But then eventually the Mott got a phone line, and then eventually all the technology kind of came up, but that's how it started. So yeah, I feel like Gurudev, I always take that instruction, like even thinking about this, people, you know, Hari Priya was saying, oh, but you're on tour so much, you have so many, like for me, the tour was going to the classes. I mean, yes, there were the little darshans in the moments, but like we were busy, and you know, you're in some city where these people get to see Gurudev maybe once in a lifetime, maybe once a year. I'm not gonna go get in, you know, like be in Gurudev's face all the time with like a million questions or whatever, you know, like, and we were just busy and tired and jet lagged and, you know, a lot of things, but it was so much the Hari Katha and how much he just poured into his classes. And it was, yeah, it was astounding how much he gave in his classes and the level of, the detail and the beauty and the clarity, you know, like I remember times like, I think I gave you this example at your house about he'd have different people speak about like, what was it? Shuddhasattva, you know, and I'm just like sitting there, all these people are using all these Sanskrit words, and I'm like, and then Gurudev, he just like, because it's realized knowledge, it just, he like expresses it so simply, and you're like, oh, like that's all that it is. What were those people talking about? You know. But then when I try to reiterate it or express it, I find I'm like them, that I'm like, okay, leaning on the things you read and this and that. But when somebody's realized something, you know, and with Gurudev, it's like when he spoke, I don't know, I always felt like I was standing on the edge of Seva Kunj, and that like any minute, like somehow the Kunj was like going to open and I was going to be able to like enter the spiritual realm and like somehow serve Shri Shri Radha and Krishna, you know, like he just made it seem that real. And like when somebody knows someone that might be, you know, famous or someone you've never met or whatever, like, but they can relate their personal things, that person feels so much closer to you. And that's like Srila Gurudev was able to make us feel that Radha and Krishna were so attainable. Now I feel like, oh gosh, there's like, how am I ever going to get there? It just feels so like far, 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 far away when I'm not in his actual presence. And that was like the potency. He was able to just bring with him the spiritual realm and like connect us to it, and just in such an accessible, like humanly relatable way. You know, that's the beauty of like Guru and Vaishnavas coming in this, like, you know, like coming and being amongst us like this, and teaching us by their example, like this is how, you know, you practice, this is how you behave, this is how, like, because if you just think, you know, God, it's such a vast, inconceivable thing. But Gurudev like brought it down, and he was this incredible mix of like, just so sweet and so personal and like cracking jokes and stuff. Like Vasanti reminded me, a couple days ago was my birthday, and so one year, and it was my birthday, we were in Govardhan, and we were waiting for Srila Gurudev to come back from his morning walk, and Vasanti had a bag of flowers or whatever, and you know, she said, oh, it's her birthday, and he's doing the flowers, Mangalam, you know, and then does kind of the standard thing, and then he goes, may you be, and like really pause, and I'm like, wow, I'm gonna get like a really personal benediction, you know, and he goes, may you be okay. And it's like, and now I always remember that, and I always have a soft spot, and it's just like, yeah, I'd like to be okay. If I can be okay in this lifetime, that would be incredible, you know. But no, he was just so like we could just connect to him and relate to him and feel his power and his potency, and like, I don't know, like they always, like in the, I think it's in the Gorovani book, it talks about like, you know, like the volcano, like a little bit sticks above the ocean, but so much is like below, you know? And so it's like, we had that experience of like the tip of the volcano of like being with Gurudev and his sweetness and his kindness and his sternness and his corrections, and but like in a very human, relatable, individual kind of a way. And then I only feel like after he disappeared that I'm like starting to get like an idea of like, whoa, he's like, and you know, he's in the spiritual world with Radha and Krishna, and it's like so vast, and his like powers and potencies and all, like, you know, like the Madhurya, just, we were just so like over flooded with the Madhurya side of him that we kind of knew all those Aishwarya things, like, okay, like, yeah, he's a maidservant of Srimati Radharani, like, okay, he's divine, he's eternal, like, but the Madhurya is what just enchanted us and like, and melted our hearts and made it all, like, that's that divine link that makes it seem possible, you know, and it makes you want to get up every day, you know, like I say sometimes, like, you know, I love hearing about Radha and Krishna. I love to hear the Leelas. I love the philosophy, but it's all kind of, you know, like, you know, I believe it because Gurudev said it, and I want to just be with Gurudev wherever he is. And if that's where he is and that's what he says, then that's what I say, and that's what I believe, and that's what I'm trying for, because I just want to be with Gurudev, you know, and that's like, that's the magic of them coming as Guru or Vaishnava into this world, and just being with us in our really human, raw, messy, material conditioned state. Okay, so I wanted to talk a little bit about like how the books and how, so I started traveling with Syamarani Didi. Yeah, Haripriya was kind of telling the story. It actually happened in outside Dauji, which was pretty cool because, you know, Dauji is the place of Balaram, who's of course Guru Tattva, and we were sitting on the bus. We just had a really spicy breakfast feast, and yeah, Sulata comes and gets on the bus, and she's like, oh, you know, Syamarani Didi needs someone to travel with her. The people that were traveling with her before don't think they want to go this year. Are either interested? And Vasanti and I were both like, you know, we were like, yeah, we'd been devotees for like a minute, and just felt like totally like qualified. And then I was doing my mantras on the bus, and then it just, yeah, like popped into my head, like, what if we both go, you know? And then, yeah, thus was born a really amazing team and partnership. And, you know, for many years, I traveled with Vasanti and Syamarani Didi on the tour, and was just amazing to be able to hear that much Harikatha, go to all these festivals. And, it's one thing to hear the Harikatha, but then to go back and, spend days going over the lecture again and again, you really it forces you to okay, what was Gurudev really saying here? What did he really mean? And then it kind of evolved into the books. The very first book actually happened on our very first tour. It's Gurudeva Tatma, and just to prove how not ready Vasanti and I were to go do on these tours. So we're like, okay, we're going on the tour, and so we arrive in gosh, we must have flown into Brisbane, and we're sort of like, now what? And Shamani's like, now what? And none of us had known that we were supposed to tell the devotees what flight we were coming on, or that we were arrived. No one was there to pick us up. I think we had to I don't even know how we called the devotees. Syamarani happened to have somebody's number. We were so novice, we didn't know up from down, how to do anything, take care of. We knew nothing about going on the tour. But anyway,
I did email somebody, by the way.
You arrived in Brisbane. Brisbane is an hour, 2 hours from Murwillumbah. So you were
yeah.
What did you do?
Yeah, we hung out in the airport for a little while till somebody came to pick us up.
We had no money.
I think we borrowed somebody's phone.
We went to the information booth, remember? And then they let us call someone. We had one person's number when we were in the.
Wow. Oh my God. Okay.
Sorry, Dita. Then they arranged that we go to what's Rangadevi's sister's house?
Karuna Didi.
Yeah, they took us to
Karuna's.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
that's
we stayed
not
the
too
night
bad.
in Brisbane. Yeah, we did stay the night in Brisbane.
Okay.
So it was well, Vasanti. So it was yeah, so Gurudev was speaking Guru Tattva classes that whole week. They were just the morning classes though, I think so, yeah. And after maybe the third day or something, he called Syamarani Didi aside and he was like, I want you to make a book out of these classes. So then we kind of put the transcribing into high gear. And yeah, we were working on all those classes and kind of trying to get them all done to compile into a booklet. And then we went next to Hawaii and he spoke one more class. I think it was about the importance of diksha. Yeah. How it was essential to have diksha. But somebody had put out a essay, or there was something that had been kind of passed around amongst the devotees, sort of disputing the importance of diksha. And so Gurudev gave kind of a fiery class about it. He was kind of worked up and really wanted to establish the tattva. And then he called us to come to his house the next day. And so we came into his room and he was writing, and I'll never forget this. He came into his room and he was sitting on the ground and he had, I don't know, books all around him. And he was picking up this book and writing something. It was like we didn't exist. He didn't acknowledge that we walked into the room. He didn't even look up. It wasn't even we were disturbing him. He was so laser focused on and then picking up this book and then checking something. And it was it was incredible to watch him write for those, I don't know, 10 minutes, or I don't know how long it was in reality, but it was amazing. And then he kind of came out of his zone, and then spoke to Syamarani Didi, and he's like, I want you to what I said last night, you should make it soft, make it present it in a kind way, he's like, I spoke strongly last night, but you should make it soft. And I think include it in the book. So then we were racing, because that was December, January, and then we wanted to have the book for his Vyasa Puja, which was going to be in Alachua, which on the way we make books nowadays, I don't know how we made a book that fast. It was lightning speed to do it, to pull it all together, edit it, transcribe it, get it edited, get it proofread, lay it out. Who did the layout? I don't even remember. we didn't know layout. Who did layout? Somebody did the layout. Oh, was it Matilidish? Was that the book he worked
Oh,
on?
you're right. Yeah, you're right.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Sorry,
So
Mohan was
then,
dead.
yeah, and we were going back and forth. And did we get it printed in LA or someplace? I don't even know where we got it printed. But like, I feel like we like handed it to him like one eye open zombies, like the morning of Vyas Puja. Like it took like everything out of us. It was like, here's the book. Like, but the book got done, and then the next he just all these amazing classes on like Guru Tattva, and I just felt like, I don't know, I felt like all the books, especially the early years, it was like being put through like a course curriculum, so it was like the first book we worked on was like Gurudeva Tatma, and it was like, okay, you need to understand Guru Tattva, so it was like we did that. And then that summer tour, kind of another miracle that we got to go, both of us, because we only in the beginning had money. It was always a miracle. Like we had the first time we both had a little bit of money that we pooled to buy the like second ticket. And then after that, the second ticket was always a miracle, either air miles or like that year Tamopa was taking Syamarani Didi to the Philippines for treatment, and he's like, okay, I'll pay for like someone to go. And Vasanti's like, well, Anita should go. She's better at like the domestic stuff or whatever. But then Vasanti was looking a little like, I want to go. And then Tamopa saw it in her face. I'll pay for both of them. And then I don't know how Brajanath Prabhu ended up paying for both of us to go on the whole tour. Anyway, it was just like miracle after miracle. And it was always like, usually on Gaur Purnim Day, like there was usually some kind of Gaur Purnim miracle that it like worked out. So we were in the Philippines and we were working on, they needed to be like relayed out and reprinted, my Shiksha Guru Priya Bandhu and Their Lasting Relation and Our Guru's One in Siddhanta, which are all books about, Srila Prabhupada and Srila Gurudev's relationship. And it was really, we just went over them again and again and again. And we really had like I looked at those layouts one time, like a few years ago. They were the worst layouts. We just had no idea what we were doing. We'd like want pictures to like fit into a certain space. So we'd like I think I squeezed one, like the Jaladuta went from being like, like a nice long seafaring boat to like a tugboat because I like squeezed the picture to fit into a certain shape. Like we just didn't know any of the basic principles of layout or design and stuff. But it was I just felt like Gurudev, it was like through those books he was like, understand Srila Prabhupada, understand our connection, understand what is the Guru Parampara. And it's just amazing how he can do things on so many layers. Like it was like a personal like education, of like what I needed at that time to really like kind of keep building my like tattva and samandagyan, but also like, of course, once the books are created, they exist and they're they benefit so many people, like we're we're getting ready to reprint Their Lasting Relation now. Like it's, thousands and thousands of these books have gone out and helped people, and they're so important to for people to understand how deep Srila Gurudev's and Srila Prabhupada's connection was. I mean, I think every city we went to in the world, the very first class he gave was always glorifying Srila Prabhupada and his preaching. And to really establish that he's building on what Srila Prabhupada gave, that they're giving the same thing, to really like deepen what Srila Prabhupada gave. And then I think next was maybe Shiva Tattva. Does that seem right? I think so. Anyway, and that one was really like I think that was your inspiration, Vasanti, actually. You'd been in Malaysia, and the devotees there's like some local Shiva temple on a hill, is my kind of recollection of the thing. And they have a big once a year festival. And Vasanti felt inspired that if we had a book about Shiva, we could, distribute so many on this day. And I know for me personally, like up until we worked on the Shiva Tattva book, I was always a little like, kind of coming from a Western Judeo-Christian background, like it gets a little confusing with like all the different like gods and demigods and like, like how it all fits together. And Shiva especially was always a little like, couldn't really like wrap my head around him. I was just sort of like, okay, like respects, but like it was like there was a lot of space in my like relationship with Lord Shiva. And after working on that book, it was amazing. And the book was crazy. I don't know, Vasanti, do you remember, did you ask Gurudev about?
Yeah, I shared this when I spoke a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
But yeah, but I told Gurudev exactly that I was in Malaysia and there was nothing to give out to these thousands and thousands of people about Lord Shiva. And if you think it's a good idea, can we put your lectures in a book? It was in Mathura outside his door, and patted me on the head and he said, very good idea, very good idea. So that's what happened.
And you collected the money for it as well, right?
Sorry?
You collected,
yeah.
I think Vasanti like collected the printing money for that book as well.
Yeah. Probably from the Malaysians, yeah.
Malaysian devotees, yeah. And so we were, I don't know, the final like 2-3 weeks of the book were absolutely insane. We had people working like someone would fall asleep like editing or proofread. I don't even know. We were just working on it, and then someone else would just pick up and like keep going. And we were eating like the worst white bread toast. We just had this like buffalo ghee and like this, it was like almost like styrofoam, this bread, and we just kept making toast. My lips were like kind of cracked and bleeding from eating so much like toast at the end. And then
that basement was so austere.
Yeah. And then so then the book kind of was finished, and I think Vasanti and Manjari and Syamarani Didi and Vasant went to Delhi. They were like still like writing the flaps and like on the taxi. And I think they were still, it was to get it printed in time to make it to Malaysia. Vasanti was going to Malaysia. Yeah. So they had to go to print on a certain day, but it was like Republic Day or something. Anyway, there was like a long weekend, or not a long weekend. Anyway, the press was supposed to be closed. It was a national holiday. So they literally like locked Syamarani Didi in the press. I think she was sleeping on like cardboard boxes to finish the book. And so like maybe a week before that, it was just like clear this book has like so much work to do on it. And I think Vasanti wrote to Gurudev and was like, I don't know. And then Gurudev said, mistakes or no mistakes, you should print this book. And so I always remember that instruction because it's like, it's important to get things accurate and correct. And we work really hard with like checks and counter checks, like how I explained with the Harikatan stuff. It's like, there's a whole process we go through, but also there's an urgency that the Vaishnavas feel to get the message out to the world, So we always there always has to be this like balance between like making the books available and like getting them out to the world, and like being so lost and like making it perfect. Because the thing is at the end of the day, as conditioned souls, we're always bound to like make some mistakes, but there's a potency, like part of the book is like the actual paper and the words and the grammar and this and that, but like there's an actual living potency in all the books, which is Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Srila Gurudev and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, like coming through this medium and reaching out to these jivas, and so it's good, to have that perspective and to keep that perspective with the books, and even in all aspects, working on them, distributing them, thinking about everything we do, that like they're living. They have potency, they have power far beyond what we can imagine. So yeah, and then I don't even know where to go at this point. What time is it?
We have plenty of time.
Okay, so I think the next books we were working on were Gorovani and Journey of the Soul, and they originally began as a single book, Syamarani Didi. I don't know exactly where the order for those books came from.
Gurudev in 2005 in class in Badger, he was saying in the same like class, he was saying, one, people don't even know what Gorovani means. And then in the same class, he said, people think we fell from Goloka Vrindaban.
Yeah.
So he did the order. It was like,
so I think Syamarani went home that night and just like compiled like all the lectures on those topics. And at first it was this like kind of ginormous book, and we were like, this is it feels like two different themes. And then they split, and then which one came out first? Gorovani?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we worked on Gorovani first, and yeah, I think that also just really like deepened my connection to Srila Prabhupada and Gurudev, and what Srila Prabhupada was actually giving, and what was Srila Gurudev actually giving, like what our ultimate goal was. I feel like that book so gracefully and artfully collects, Gurudev really coming to the essence of, we're aspiring to be servants of, Rupa Goswami and as Rupa Manjari, and to serve, Shri Shri Radha and Krishna. And, Gurudev was pretty revolutionary for just laying that out to the world. It's there in Gaudiya Math, but I think it's a little bit like, sort of subdued. It's not the first thing, which when you come to Gurudev's Sangha, like pretty quickly people are like, oh, we're Manjaris, But yeah, and then Journey of the Soul, how he was really, actually I remember we were in, I think, Alachua, and he was like, oh, Syamarani has printed a book about like the fall of the jiva, and we all just kind of looked at each other like, oh, we're gonna have to work really hard now, because it wasn't quite done yet. And then yeah, Journey of the Soul came out, but it was yeah, Srila Gurudev really used that to like establish, he used his books to really like establish these tattvas. And personally, I learned so much from the process of like going through them. And like I say, how much they just reach out to the world. And I guess, yeah, I just feel like with all of Srila Gurudev's books, so I kind of started to branch out that point to be more involved in the books than the Harikatha. And there's kind of, I think GBP kind of has, I'd say maybe three main like areas of publications that were sort of established by Gurudev. So one is the books that I'd mostly been working on at that point, which are lecture based, which are coming from Srila Gurudev's actual classes. And those are ones he's requested. Actually, Vasanti, it keeps like sitting on my brain that he wanted the class on those Brihad Bhagavatamrita classes made into a book.
we got a plan.
Okay. Because every now and again I'm like, oh, he wanted that.
We asked too.
Yeah, he was giving these amazing classes. What year was that? 2008? Something around there, maybe?
2003.
No.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't. Maybe 5 or 6.
We're old.
No, it wasn't that early. Anyway, all right, we'll look it up.
Okay, 4. Okay. I think 5. I think 2000. I think 5.
Okay, something around that. And I feel like from Julanyatra through Kartik. It was a really long series of classes, and it was incredible. And then he told Syamarani Didi, like, oh, this should be made into a book. But they were working on Brihad Bhagavatamrita. That's why I thought it was later. I guess they've been working on Brihad Bhagavatamrita for a long time. And Syamarani Didi said, but they're going to publish Brihad Bhagavatamrita. And he said, but I'm giving more in these classes. So yeah, so the classes books are really like, they're special because they have Gurudev's sort of personal
2003.
touch and interpretation.
2003.
And really?
Just looked it up.
Oh. Anyway, and then the other kinds of books is the books that Srila Gurudev publishes in Hindi, which is they're mostly translations from the Vaishnava Acharyas. He's done a lot of like Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's books, Bhaktivinoda Thakur's books, few of Rupa Goswami's, and then there's commentaries by all the different Vaishnava Acharyas. And these are the books like when Gurudev was in Hawaii and Malaysia and different places where he would go on his writing retreats, where he was really just, this is what he's working on. Of course, we all love the Harikatha and the classes and the festivals, but I feel in many ways, this is the heart of what he was delivering, was these books that he wrote and the commentaries he gave. And then he give, also within its, even saturated within his translations is his mood, and so there's still so many Hindi books which haven't been not so many, but like a dozen maybe, Hindi books that still need to be translated into English. And in fact, in Hindi, there's projects that he worked on or gave instructions on that still haven't been finished. So the legacy is so great in that we have more than a lifetime worth of work to try and fulfill Srila Gurudev's desires in terms of his, the classic granthas coming from the Vaishnavas that he wanted to, put out and to make available into English. And
So are
and
those
then the third thing
sorry, just
in progress, yeah. In English right now we're working on Ujjwal and Neelamani, and also Chatra Sloki Bhagavat, and kind of like hovering on the edge is the 4 Vaishnava Acharyas project also. But translation work is very long and very slow. It takes a long time to do the translations.
And Vilap Kushmanjali, English lecture.
Oh yeah, Vilap Kushmanjali. Yeah, but that's in the lecture category. I'm talking about the other category.
Sorry.
And then I'd say that the other thing is the harmonists. That he really had the harmonist magazines, and those are incredible. And they're so amazing because they're like, I think Gurudev was really establishing the Guru Parampara, and the team did such an amazing job of picking, like there'd be a kind of a theme to each magazine, and then finding articles from all the acharyas on that like topic, and kind of then pulling it all together and then being able to look at one one kind of tattva or topic or concept, and then the different acharyas, how they kind of present it or expand upon it in their lectures. And so we don't really, we kind of publish the harmonist now, but we do it in like a little bit more sneaky way because magazines we found just didn't sell. So like a book came out for the centennial year, Shri Guru Vandana, or they did one for Param Gurudev called Kriti Ratna. So those are the same format of different like articles from the different acharyas, but we've just decided to publish them as books instead of magazines now. And then they still have the Raise of the Harmonist page and things like that. Okay. don't know where to go now. I don't know. Any thoughts, Vasanti?
What about, you're not going to talk about your other side of GVP, Selah?
Oh,
Like logistics?
well, copyrights.
Like
We can talk about
logistic Acharya?
copyrights. Yeah, but that's, I'm trying to keep it focused on Gurudev.
It is what, I mean, no one knows how things reach, like how do books get around the world?
Yeah, okay. Well, I'll start with, well, it actually began with Syamarani Didi's art. We wanted to be able to use Syamarani Didi's art in the books, but most of her art, it was kind of a gray area, like who did it actually belong to? Like she's the artist, but she did them for Srila Prabhupada, and then Srila Prabhupada has his BBT and ISKCON in different legal entities. And so it was a whole thing to like work out who owns the art, does Syamarani Didi have a right to publish it or not? And so we were working with Manju Didi, who's a trademark attorney, and she was kind of helping us navigate all that. And so in the process of trying to work out getting the copyrights for Syamarani Didi's artwork, which by the way, we did work out an arrangement with the BBT that they own the copyright, but she has the right to use it and to give permission to others. She has like a special license with them. So that was a good, amicable, happy ending to that story, which took a couple of years. But in that process, we kind of realized we need to, for Srila Gurudev's books, have the, establish the copyrights and the legalities and things. When you're with Gurudev, you're just so blissed out. And, you just think everything's perfect and everybody's so nice and this and that. And you don't really want to think about legalities or business or all these things. But the reality of printing books and moving them around the world, if you want to import books, you need a bank account, you need to have a company, you need to file taxes, like all those things have to go on to support the overall mission of distributing and sharing the philosophy through the books. So I got involved in the copyrights, and there was some discussion like how, what's going on, how can you copyright transcendental literature, how do we do that? And so that was really nice because I got to have a lot of nice maybe isn't the right word, but it was churning, but it was also nice because in the sense that I got to talk to Gurudev about some of these things and participate in some of the darshans and ask him some questions about this. So I think the first time I reached out to him about it was ironically in the entrance tunnel to Gopinath Bhavan. I don't know where he was going or I was going, but I just took my chance and I was like, do you want copyrights on your books, and I can't remember exactly what he said, but he basically was like, yes, like we should do things like properly, and we were able to, so there was a lot of concern, and also the future legacy, like who's going to own the copyrights, how is it going to work? And I feel like we went through quite a process and got the input of a lot of devotees and worked really closely with Srila Gurudev and came to a really nice thing. He had a darshan in Navadvip, where Manju went and asked him a bunch of questions, and then we then based on what he said in those darshans, we kind of refined it down to some more questions, and then I asked him follow-up questions in Houston, and then based on all of that, we put together a license. So the system we set up is that so Gurudev owns the books and they are copyrighted, but there's this I guess it's an entity out there called Creative Commons, which encourages that you can share, because some people were like, oh, the book should be what's it called? public domain. Like they should just be available to everybody. But Gurudev was very much not wanting that. He said, you know, these are the books. He said, you know, I should be credited as the author. And people, the main thing he was concerned about is people changing them, that once you put it into public domain, it's very easy for people to change things. And he was very concerned about that there should be some protocol to make sure that the books aren't just changed here and there. And so so he was owning the books. And then we established the legal entity of Gaudiya Vedanta Publications, I think in 2007, maybe. And that's a nonprofit that's registered in America. And then so they're all, you know, the books all say copyright Gaudiya Vedanta Publications. But how it works is Gurudev owns the intellectual property, which is the actual like rights to the content of the books, and Gaudiya Vedanta Publications publishes it under a license from him. And so into this license, we put the different stipulations that Srila Gurudev wanted. So there's, so the books, they all have to have his name, they have to give credit to him, but as long as they're unchanged, anybody can print his books, either in entirety or segments, but it needs to be unchanged and they have to give proper credit. And anyone could translate his books. He made that very clear also. And he also, so for English and Hindi kind of, but we were specifically working on English. He established an editorial committee. So he said, if we wanted to make changes, I mean, he said, while he's here, then he can answer questions and do it like that. And then after him, an editorial committee should do that. And they should be consulting Sadhu and Shastra to, you know, any changes should be always within the context of that. And so we worked on the license, we went back and forth, this and that. And then he was supposed to sign it. I don't know. Anyway, everyone who was supposed to meet him and sign it, it like didn't work out. And then he was back in India. It was like, you know, like Radhastami kind of time, like that. No, maybe before. I don't know exactly when. But like that, Julian Yatra, and I was like, you know, who's going to sign this? And they were like, well, you have to go do it. And I was like, oh my gosh. So I took the bus to Delhi early in the morning and I went to the Mott and I had all the documents. I went over things with Brajanath Prabhu, and then we went in to go sign it with Gurudev. And yeah, so I was like videoing and Srila Gurudev signed everything and we explained it. And yeah, it was pretty amazing. And then I just felt like so happy, like, okay, we've like cleared this up. And then the next day, I think in the evening, I start getting messages that they've like announced that Gurudev's like sick. And I was like, I couldn't believe it, because it was like the day before I was just with him. I was like, he looked tired, but like, what's going on? So that was the last real like interactive darshan I had with Gurudev. And I feel like he's just, my whole spiritual life just been like emphasizing to be with the books, work with the books, that this is my service, that this is where I am, this is my connection to him, this is something, so important to him. And it's my, it's also my personal safe haven. If I'm doing this seva, then I'm to some degree in my bubble of Gurudev protection. So yeah, so the books, we just keep going on, and we really think that Gurudev is non-different than his Vani, and as he instructed me in those original darshan, that I'm in my, sorry. that everything's in his heart katha. So this is how we can associate with Srila Gurudev. Anywhere, anytime. He's always there. His books and his, the videos, the audio recordings. He's always there for us. Anyway, so it's an incredible mercy to serve the books, to serve the Vaishnavas. I sometimes I get astounded just thinking like how and it's not just Gurudev, it's Bhaktivinoda Thakur, it's Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. They're all here with us, coming to us, and it's an incredible mercy. So
That's beautiful. It's really beautiful.
Anyway, so I'll turn it into a commercial now. I just want to let everybody else know ways that they can also, connect with the books. I think sometimes people don't know how to access the books. Like being in the middle of them all the time, I'm like so surrounded with them, and I'm like, but I hear feedback from people here and there that they don't always know how to get books or where to get books and stuff. And I just encourage everybody to work reading into your life, even if it's, I know when you're working and this and that, but just a page or two in the morning or in the evening, or while you're, just have something in front of you when you're chanting your japa. Or the audio books are incredible thing that's Haripriya and others have been working on, that just makes it available while you're driving, while you're doing your exercise or whatever. We also have books in Kindle format, because I know sometimes shipping costs if you're not in a place where books are locally. Like for America, we have, okay, so here, I'll just zoom out a little bit. So we print our books in India, in Delhi. And so we keep a warehouse in Delhi, and we have a warehouse in Vrindaban, and we have a good stock in Navadvip. So of course, people know when you come to the festivals, when you go to the Badger Festival, we always have a lot of books at different festivals. There's books. And then, we have bhaktistore.com, which is a way to order books online, though honestly, if you live outside of America, the shipping is difficult. We can also ship books from Vrindavan. And then there's also local distributors, like we're shipping books to Guyana. New Zealand has a shipment coming in soon. Australia regularly receives shipments. South Africa. There are books, like local devotees in the areas that have books. And but we also have, like Kindle books and ways, free PDFs on purebhakti.com. There's so many ways to get to the books. And then I think the next thing is, sharing them with people, telling people about it, gifting books to people. I know not everybody's ready to do just like street distribution, but there's so many ways you can share books. I just keep them in my purse. The other day I was at the hospital. I was waiting for a test, and there was this old lady who'd like messed up the timings on her like thing, and she was supposed to fast and she didn't. So now she was going to have to wait 3 hours. And she was asking the guy at the desk, is there like a gift shop or something? I'm so bored. And I was like, I have a book you can read, and she took it, and I went and did my thing, and I came out, and she was quietly sitting there in the corner reading the essence of Bhagavad Gita. So like, you never know if you just have a book with you, like who you're going to meet. People are like, oh, what's that on your head? So many things. So I put books in little libraries. Vasanti's always going. There's so many festivals where you can set up tents. Often they have free or discounted costs for people who, for charity organizations or nonprofits and stuff. And or if you just can't deal with any of that and you just have some extra money that you want to donate, Vasanti's, got the book sponsorship program, which connects donors with the people that want to distribute books, but that way then the books can be for free or less than cost. We put them in libraries, prisons, so many ways to sort of help support the book distributors in different ways. And then also just supporting Gurudev Vedanta publications directly. We have a Patreon page. We take PayPal. We have this program called the endowment system, where when we're printing books now, I think over 80% of the books that Srila Gurudev that we have are now endowed, which means we've collected donations to print it. And then once a book's endowed, whenever we sell the book, the printing cost goes back into our bank account. And so when it's time to reprint it, we never have to fundraise for it again. So that means over 80% of Gurudev's books, we don't have to fundraise for. We can just keep reprinting them cyclically. And so that's a nice thing to make it for GVP, that it's not a stress that we're always fundraising, but that just when it's time to reprint, we can just reprint, or supporting our operating costs, the translators, our office expenses, things like that. These are all ways that you can just be connected and serve the book. So sorry to put in my advertisement, but I just think it's important to let the devotees know all those things that are going on and all the ways that you can connect with Srila Gurudev through the books. Okay, I have no idea what time it is, and I don't know if I can say anything more after this.
If you have anything else to add, please feel free.
I don't know. Vasanti, do you have anything to?
Vasanti, you told me after your session that you forgot this story and that story. So do you remember any of those?
Oh man, I should have written it down. But I just want to say, some people might think
popcorn. Sorry, you were saying that you ate popcorn for dinner for several nights.
Oh my God.
Those are so funny. I'd love to hear those stories. Anyway, go on.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I can tell the popcorn story, then I'll say what I was going to say. We were in Berlin, and Gurudev had ordered these line drawings for Gita Govinda, his Hindi Gita Govinda. And so we were in a 1-bedroom, someone gave us their apartment, a 1-bedroom apartment. So Anita and I,
bedroom studio. It was a 1-room apartment.
A 1-room apartment. We got these artists working all night on these line drawings because of a deadline, and that put Anita and I out of the room. So there was this kitchen, and it was long, and it was so amazing. It was we slept like the length of the kitchen. So Anita here, me here, and we just fit in the kitchen, almost kind of sharing a pillow. I remember in the middle of the night, she would push my head off. It was like, get off my pillow. But we somehow, for some reason, I don't know, in retrospect, I guess it's just all part of the pastime and our purification, because there was no lack of funds. If we needed money, we could just ask, but we had no money, and we didn't ask for any money. So because Rajna Prabhu was not, he'd give whatever we need. But we had no money, so Anita was just making popcorn for dinner every night. That's all we could afford. We're feeding Syamarani Didi and the artists popcorn for dinner. And then so these line drawings are crazy. They would draw, and then they had to make it. Then they would white out, and then they would need to get it scanned. So they'd send Anita and I out in a city we don't know, a language we don't know. And Berlin is just so heavy. It's just has such a heavy city, the wall and the whole, So we would go out, and we'd find a scanner. It's called the Scanning in Brennan. We'd find the scanner, and then we'd have to scan these pictures and then print them out again. And it would just take half our day, and we would come home, just come back to this apartment, then we'd have to sleep, take a 2-hour nap to recover from figuring out how to get around Berlin. And that was amazing. And then but they did it. Yeah, the artists, they did it. They finished.
Remember Happy Krishna?
Oh, so
they were working,
beautiful.
these were the Gita Govinda line drawings. And there's this one picture where Radha and Krishna are there, and Krishna, you know, like Herman's finally been broken and everything. And so Syamarani kept doing line drawings. Aren't really her, like, normally she does paintings, and it's a totally different form of artwork because you use shading and like contrast, and there's so many things that line drawings are very, like, it's like a black line or white space, like you can't do all the things you do in painting. And so she was really struggling with the medium, and Gurudev was pressurizing her because he wanted to print the Hindi Gita Govinda. And so he was like, I'm going back to India and I'm printing it, and the drawings have to be done. And so she kept showing them to him. And this one, he's like, Krishna's not happy enough. He's not happy enough. I think she went back 2 or 3 different times. And he's like, Krishna should be more happy. And she's like, I don't know how to make him more happy. She's like, I put the biggest smile that I could think. So she sends Vasanti and I, because she's like, maybe he'll say yes to you guys. So we this was in Berlin. Gurudev was supposed to go to Russia, and then something happened with the visa or something. So they did this last minute, like, kind of spontaneous festival in Berlin. Everyone was like staying in the it was like a martial arts facility or something. I don't know. It smelled like sweaty feet. That's what I mostly remember. And then like so we came, I can't remember if it was Gurudev was coming out of class or before class, and Vasanti and I, we showed him the picture and we're like, is Krishna happy enough? And he was like, yes. Now Krishna is happy.
Now
happy
he's happy
too. Yeah, that was crazy. We didn't, so they finished many, they worked really hard while Gurudev was there, and they finished some. Maybe they even sent one set. So the scanning was German for scanning, and then Brennan was burning. So we would burn it onto a CD too. And then they were, Neela was cleaning them up in Photoshop, like cleaning up all the lines. Anyway, so we sent one CD with Gurudev, but Syamarani Didi still wasn't like satisfied. And so then they were making more. And then we sent another CD. Sajja Maharaj was leaving like 4 days later or something. We sent another CD. I remember running to the artists were up all night long working on it. And then his flight was at like, I don't know, 9 in the morning or something. And I remember them like, did we send 2 CDs? I think they sent 1 CD. We burned like 1 CD, but they still wanted to finish like 1 more picture. And Vasanti and I think both went to the airport, but like half an hour apart in case we missed it.
Yeah.
And like, I remember I was like running to the metro station, and like devotee lifestyle is not the most cardio lifestyle. It took me the whole metro ride to the airport to like get my breath back because I'd been running so hard to get to the metro station because we were so worried we were going to be able to hand off the files before the flight. There was some other story you wanted to tell? Before the
I don't
popcorn
remember.
one?
Oh, I don't know. I just was, I mean, I think it's apparent, but I just like think that copyrights and paying printers and shipping and stuff is sometimes like what do they call it, thankless task? Like it's very behind the scenes and nobody really knows what's going on. And it's a really huge, even though sometimes people think, oh, can't GVP do this or can't GVP do that? It's just a few people, but it's actually quite a large, not as large as like the BBT or as, other publishing houses, but it is quite a large publishing house. And just having lived with Anita for so many years and seeing, like, to me, it's all just like, I ask her the same question a million times and then she has to explain it over and over. Just, like, it's just, having witnessed it and seeing, like, it's an amazing task. And it's just such an amazing seva. And it's amazing that Gurudev gave it to you to do. And I just think there's a lot of misunderstandings amongst devotees and like how things actually go on. So I think this is really important that you explain. And it's just, yeah. And I remember Anita's attachment and her I remember one time we were in Delhi, the books, before we got a big warehouse, the books were stored in the Delhi Mott on the side. and she would just like have to go there, and with no help, no like really backup from people, and she would just be like so happy, like, oh, Mangalarti's going on, okay, let me sing as I'm like arranging boxes. And I remember one time, she used to label them all herself. Now we have more, it's expanded, but at that time I remember just being the first time I ever heard her say, or someone say, and now I use it all the time, like as she's like counting each book and putting it in the box and labeling the box how many are there, she's like, each book has someone's name on it. And that I remember, like now I say that all the time, and I just because it's true. Yeah, like I remember hearing you say the first time, and it was just so moving to think, like, yeah, it's so true. Like,
yeah, when I used to stick the labels, I would think like, this is like because you need like for importing, the boxes have to be labeled like what's inside or whatever, and I'm like, oh, these are your like, this is like your passport, these are your like documents to get, like, you're gonna find a home in this country, and but it's a team. GBP is a beautiful team, and I feel so honored to like work with everybody. I mean, not only do I always feel like Gurudev still in so many ways overseeing and managing the books, like so many things happen, and you're just like, oh, that was Gurudev, or like the prayers he answers or the unexpected things that he sends. I mean, I know one year we were having really some financial problems, and like money just started coming from the weirdest places, and like even Brajnath Prabhu had a dream that like Gurudev was like, you have to get some money for publishing. Like Gurudev's still completely like managing stuff, but it's been a real shelter, like after Gurudev's disappearance, to have this. It's like a family. I feel like the GBP team's like a family, and how everyone works together, and they so much focused on pleasing Srila Gurudev through publishing his books and making those available. And it is a team from everybody, from the very beginning of an idea to, transcribe a book or to translate a book, through all the editors, all the proofreaders, I mean, you can't imagine the amount of work that goes into the production of the book. Well, that's a whole, I like have such awe for those people, because the amount of detail and focus and expertise and finesse and understanding of Siddhanta, and it's such slow, delicate work, and it's amazing to like see them do their thing, and then through layout and proofreading and and then printing and overseeing the printing, and then there's kind of a pre-press team and then like a post-press team, and working with it's a great crew that does like the accounting and the logistics and the business side of things, and keeping the bank accounts going, and giving tax receipts to people. And it's like there's so many things that you don't imagine are part of the whole thing, but it all, the donors, without the donors, then like we can't print the books, and people with just computer expertise. There's so many things, but it's such a nice family, and I've just loved it because it just keeps Gurudev so much in the center, and like gives you like a focus. I don't know.
So nice, so beautiful. Is there anything else you'd like to add, any of you?
No, I think I'm sort of
That was
expressed.
so nice. Yeah. अजय प्रभु आप कुछ बोलेंगे?
Dandavad Pranam, Didi. It's really nice to hear your story. And you are vice president of GVP, and you said the whole team is working behind the scenes. I would like to know who are the main members of the team, other members.
Well, there's so many people. I get like kind of shy to like start listing, because I don't want to leave anybody out or make anybody feel bad, but I'll just so kind of the production side, we have Syamarani Didi and Vasanti Didi and Shanti Didi, Manjari Didi, Madhukar, Sulata, Janaki, Shrivas. Those are the people actively working on books. Now, over the years, so many people have worked on books, and we continue to publish those books. So in one way, their legacy is still there, but those are the ones who are, you know, kind of actively putting in a lot of seva. And then for the
That's for the English books. And then
that's for
there's,
English. Then there's
yeah.
Hindi, French, Spanish, German, you know,
Wow.
and it's amazing.
come?
But sorry?
No. Oh man.
I don't know
Okay.
what's going on, but anyway, and then for the kind of like production side, then well, we have layout people like Anupam and Kamala, and Vasanti sometimes helps. Janaki does a lot. She just like our kind of rock in terms of layout and stuff. And then so Radhakanta, he's the president of GBP. He kind of keeps us on track. And then Vishwambar's the treasurer. He's really good for all the financial sides of things and making sure we're like meeting all the kind of regulations and rules for bank accounts and importing and that kind of stuff. Anjali does, she does our main accounting work. And then Manjulali is just incredible for kind of everything in Vrindavan, keeping it all going. Inventory, shipping books, this and that. Sachin and Haripriya help us with hosting the books in the warehouse there and do our fulfillment for Bhakti store. And then there's devotees, you know, purchasing books to bring to their countries, dealing with importing them. Like Vasanti's always bringing books into America. She knows that can be a little bit trippy, and Krishnamai and Shiva warehouse books in their thing. Vasanti's organizing festivals and inspiring devotees all around the world actually to distribute books in any way that's, you know, kind of harmonious and natural to them. And then there's devotees importing books into Australia. Jagannath Punja Prabhu is always importing books there. Chandramukhi. New Zealand, Bela just imported some books. South Africa, Radhapriya and Guyana. I don't know. It's such a team, and there's so many people involved. But it's I love working with them all.
I can see the whole big machinery working behind the scenes to bring the books to everybody. It was really nice having you, Didi, and you made some very nice statements, which I like to remind everybody. You said books keep us anchored to Gurudev, because he is always central, and all the books still, Gurudev is living in his books. And you started your spiritual life in the most amazing way on exercise machine. I've hardly heard anybody doing that. I think that's unique. Probably nobody else would have done like this. You read Bhagavad Gita on the exercise machine, and then you finish it on the spot. So that was your quest for truth, I would say, your thirst, which got you here into this huge service to Srila Gurudev, which is not very easy for many people to have. And then you described your first meeting so beautifully. He stole my heart immediately. That was your statement. And then you said, I was a little bewildered and definitely blissful. Yeah, so everybody who came to Gurudev was always blissful. And then you cried for hours. So I can understand how he touched your heart in the very first meeting, and how you sort of got sold to him immediately. And then you talked about how his birthdays were. Like, we all accept gifts, but here is Gurudev, he's giving gift to the whole world. He's giving all of his whatever he has. So yeah, it's totally different from what we are used to in this material world. And then you described your relationship with the family. When the Haripriya Didi asked you, how do your family feel? And you made such a strong statement. I found the absolute truth. Don't you guys understand? So this
you have to sign off for inheritance. You know that, Babaji?
Yeah. So this really shows your what do you call anubhuti, or I would say realization that what you're enjoying and tasting, that living family seems to be a small job in front of that absolute truth. And then you said from years our meditation was if the battery is charged, if the things are working, devices are working, because you're doing so much seva with the phone and other things. Wait, why this is not working? One sec. And oh, you talked about how Gurudev was speaking. When everybody else was speaking, they spoke Sanskrit shlokas and all. When Gurudev made it so simple, because it was realized knowledge. Yes, Gurudev's lectures were always very, very simple and simple words. And then you described it so beautifully. I'm going to enter Leelas of Radha Krishna when you're hearing to Gurudev. Like you're going to enter the Kunjas right away. He made us feel that Radha and Krishna were so attainable. Yes, it was actually in all those meetings we had with Srila Gurudev, we were like transported into some different world. I don't know what he spoke, how he spoke, what body language he gave. The whole mood of the whole meeting was totally changed, and people forgot where they were sitting. I remembered this in Govardhan and Gopinath Bhavan, Mathura. It was always like this, very, very energetic and very, very, it will transport you in a different world. And then you describe Gurudev as being so sweet, so personal, and cracking jokes. Yes, he always used to do that. But he would crack jokes very subtly and in a very, very polished way, not like laughing loud, but he'll be very soft and gentle with his jokes also. and the blessing which he gave, it was a little funny. May you be, and he said at the end, okay. Yeah, being okay is a big thing, I think. Not many people are okay in this world. And if we are okay, then it's a big thing. And now I can see that you are okay by his blessing. Yeah. And Madhurya is what enchanted, as you said. Yes, Gurudev was full of Madhurya all the time. It was always overflowing and affecting everybody who came near him. And you talked about miracle after miracle for the tickets, especially the return tickets. It somehow came from somewhere. So this experience you can only have when you're doing such sevas, then you can get this experience and realizations. And this is a thing which you spoke touched me most. Actual living books have actual living potency in all the books. They have potency for far beyond than what we can imagine. So from this statement, I understand that you understand this potency quite clearly, and you have a good experience of this potency. Only then you can make a statement like this. Yes, Gurudev is present in all his books, and it is beyond the words and the books written there. It is his real presence is there if we read them in the correct mood. Not only Gurudev, all our Guru Parampara is available to us through these books. And then you talked, these books are your personal safe haven. If I'm doing this seva, then I'm in my safe haven. Yes, all this book, it could be different for different people. Like you have this book seva, which keeps you in safe haven. I have this Zoom, which keeps me in safe haven. Some other people might have something else which keeps them in their safe haven and keep them reminding of Srila Gurudev all the time. So we must find our safe havens now, which will keep us connected to Srila Gurudev. We must find some seva which our heart connects to, so that we are always reminded of him. And lastly, you said not just Gurudev, they all are coming to us. All our Guru Parampara are coming to us. Beautiful mercy which we are getting. So you're doing Didi amazing, amazing seva, and I am so astonished by your life which you have chosen for yourself. Not only you, but even Vasanti Didi. You are living like sannyasis, without any family, without even wearing the red clothes still has some value and people give donation, but you are not even wearing red clothes. So, and you are living without anything, any support, and you're doing such big seva. It is really amazing. And I'm so much inspired by seeing your service, how you've given your life to Gurudev. and still continuing to do so. And Vasanti Didi also, like you have given all your life. It's so difficult for a lady to do this, especially in India, like being an Indian and this culture. We cannot imagine here somebody doing like what you're doing. You're so bold, so strong, and following Gurudev's instructions so boldly, loudly. And Gurudev used to say, my daughters are all like, I want them all to be lionesses, not like sitting meekly in the house. And actually, Gurudev has given you so much energy, I can see, and you're doing such a wonderful seva to him, and not only to him, but to all the devotees around the world. For them, the books are now everything. Really. Thank you so much, Didi. Thank you very much. Thank you, Vasanti Didi, and thank you, Haripriya Didi also. I was like an odd man here in the ladies' conference, but I really enjoyed your talk. You spoke really your heart out. It was really nice. I didn't know you much actually, because you are always quiet. All your team, most of them are working very quietly behind the scenes. It's nice to bring you here, and I really thank Haripriya Didi for this special effort to bring you here, and so that we all come to know who you are, what you're doing. Even Shanti Didi, I've hardly heard her voice. She doesn't speak at all. So we would also like to have
so many books.
Yeah, we also like to have her one day. Maybe Haripriya Didi can do the work, because I'm not so direct touch with them. So it's good to have people who are doing so much seva on the program, so that everybody gets inspired that they should also do some seva. So thank you so much, Didi. Thank you. And thank you, Vasanti Didi. Thank you, Haripriya Didi. Thank you all the listeners who are listening and who are going to listen. Our Gurudev is present, eternally present with us. Only thing we need to access him. And this is how we're accessing him. And he is giving us all his blessings all the time. So Shri Guru Maharaj ki jai, Anant Koti Vaishnav Vrind ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrind ki jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Gaur Premanande Hari Hari.
Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna.